Hello, student. Master Kung Fu welcomes you to this lesson. Today, Master Kung Fu will explain about complex sentences. Have you ever heard about complex sentences? Well, my child, you have learned about simple and compound sentences. Now, you will learn about complex sentences. First, what can you say about the following sentences? Po used his dumpling skills against Master Shifu. Tigress wanted to be the dragon warrior. The Furious Five teamed up to fight Tai Lung. Is each a complete sentence?
Yes, they are all complete sentences.
Correct. They are all complete sentences. Now, let's see these sentences. Po used his dumpling skills against Master Shifu because Po, was hungry. Tigress wanted to be the dragon warrior, although Master Ogwe chose Po. The Furious Five teamed up to fight Tai Lung when he escaped from jail. Are they still complete sentences?
Yes, they are complete sentences.
Good! They are complete sentences. Let's continue. Because he was hungry, although Master Ogwe chose Po. When he escaped from jail. What do you notice here? Are these complete sentences?
No. It seems to me they are not complete.
Very well said. Yes, they are not complete sentences. There is information missing in all these bits of sentences. These bits of sentences are known as dependent clauses.
What is a dependent clause?
A dependent clause is a clause that cannot stand on its own. A dependent clause is unfinished and does not convey a full and complete thought. Look at the following sentences. Po used his dumpling skills against Master Shifu. Tigress wanted to be the dragon warrior. The Furious Five teamed up to fight Tai Lung. Each one is complete. We call each an independent clause.
What is an independent clause?
An independent clause is a clause that can stand on its own. It expresses a complete thought and is therefore a complete sentence.
In short, an independent clause can stand by itself, whereas a dependent clause cannot stand by itself.
Right. Let's go back to the sentence. Po used his dumpling skills against Master Shifu because he was hungry. Remember, we said it is a complete sentence. It has two parts. Let's break it into two parts. Po used his dumpling skills against Master Shifu. This is an independent clause. The other part is because he was hungry. This one is a dependent clause, as it cannot stand by itself. This sentence has both an independent and a dependent clause.
What is a complex sentence then, Mr. Kung Fu?
A good question, Sarah. Let's go back to the sentence. Po used his dumpling skills against Master Shifu because he was hungry. This is an example of a complex sentence. A complex sentence, therefore, has both an independent and at least one dependent clause.
Can a complex sentence then have more than one dependent clause?
Yes! Let's have an example of a complex sentence with one independent clause and two dependent clauses. We need to make sure Bo gets a strawberry cake when we celebrate Po's victory because it is his favorite. In this example, we need to make sure Po gets a strawberry cake is the independent clause, while when we celebrate Po's victory and because it is his favorite are the two dependent clauses. Now, identify these sentences. What type of sentences will you call the following? Tigress wanted to be the dragon warrior, although Master Ogwe chose Po. The Furious Five teamed up to fight Tai Lung when he escaped from jail.
These are both complex sentences.
Good answer. They are both complex sentences. Each one has an independent clause and a dependent clause. Note, a dependent clause begins with words like because, although, when, after, if. Did you notice them in the examples? Let's recall. Because he was hungry. Although Master Agwe chose Po. When he escaped from jail.
Yes. We have because, although, and when.
Right. They are called subordinating conjunctions. To help you with subordinating conjunctions, here are some examples. After, although, as, because, before, if, once, provided or provided that, since, that, though, unless, until or till, when, where, whereas, whenever, wherever, whether, while. Let's have some more examples of how complex sentences may be written, and let us identify the dependent clauses. Example 1. Because Po believed in himself, he defeated Tai Lung. Po defeated Tai Lung because he believed in himself. Can you now identify the dependent clauses in this pair of examples?
Because Po believed in himself and because he believed in himself are the dependent clauses in these sentences.
Right. Note that in the first sentence, the dependent clause is at the beginning, while in the second sentence, the dependent clause is at the end of the sentence. Second example. When Master Shifu trained Po, he used food as a reward. Master Shifu used food as a reward when he trained Po.
When Master Shifu trained Po, and when he trained Po are the dependent clauses in the sentences.
Good. Note that in this pair of sentences, too, in the first sentence, the dependent clause is at the beginning, while in the second sentence, the dependent clause is at the end of the sentence. Third example, Po has to train very hard, although he has been chosen to be the dragon warrior. Although Po has been chosen to be the dragon warrior, he has to train very hard. Can you now identify the dependent clause in this pair of these examples?
Here, the dependent clauses are although he has been chosen to be the dragon warrior, and although Po has been chosen to be the dragon warrior.
Right. Note that in the first sentence, the dependent clause is at the end of the sentence, while in the second, the dependent clause is at the beginning of the sentence. Note that. You can write your complex sentences by starting with a subordinating conjunction, as in these three sentences. Because Po believed in himself, he defeated Tai Lung. When Master Shifu trained Po, he used food as a reward. Although Po has been chosen to be the dragon warrior, he has to train very hard. That is, you start with your dependent clause first, followed by a comma, and then your independent clause. Please note that the use of comma here is a must. Time now for you to start practicing complex sentences. Add either an independent clause or a dependent clause to complete each sentence. Let's have two possible answers in each case. Shifu discovers that Po is capable of the harsh physical exercises. Possible answers?
Shifu discovers that Po is capable of the harsh physical exercises as he's a strong young man. Shifu discovers that Po is capable of the harsh physical exercises because he has the required skills.
Good! Whenever Po is given food,
Whenever Po is given food, he is motivated. Whenever Po is given food, he becomes energetic.
Po becomes famous.
Po becomes famous because he defeated Tai Lung. Po becomes famous since he was entitled Master Kung Fu.
Even though at first it was difficult,
Even though at first it was difficult, Po never gave up. Even though at first it was difficult, Poe showed determination.
Tai Lung becomes ashamed.
Tai Lung becomes ashamed as everyone laughed at him. Tai Lung becomes ashamed because he's no longer the master of Kung Fu.
When we celebrate Poe's victory,
When we celebrate Poe's victory, we need to make sure Poe gets a strawberry cake. When we celebrate Poe's victory, we need to have noodles and dumplings.
well done. Now, write a funny short story of around 50 to 60 words using complex sentences. You may also include other types of sentences that you have learnt previously. A reminder, you have simple, compound, and complex sentences. But before you start drafting your story, let's consider a quick recap to end this lesson. A complex sentence needs to have an independent clause and at least one dependent clause. An independent clause can stand on its own. It expresses a complete thought. A dependent clause cannot be on its own. It is incomplete and unfinished. Here is a quick formula for you to remember complex sentences. You may use either of these two. Goodbye.